Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All of our guests today, including John Gibbons, brought to you by the Waddling Dog Pub. One of Victoria's historic watering holes, welcomes you to come see why they're the talk of the peninsula. Their 50-seat patio is set to open May 1st, and the return of no-cover UFC night slotted to return in June, all while showing all the action of the NHL playoffs. Also, swing by their attached liquor store to pick up your Donnie and Dolly swag. There are countless reasons to come, sit, and stay at the Waddling Dog. Now, back in the day, when we worked at the Funny Station at 1040, Mode, Barry, and I would make our annual trip, Ryan as well, down to see the Blue Jays and Mariners, and we do a couple of shows from there over the course of two or 3 days. And a busy time in the middle of a baseball schedule for the Blue Jays and John Gibbons. And you know what?
Comedy.
He would always make time for us. He would be on the field. We'd be up in the booth. Always make time for us to do a lengthy interview. A bunch of bums from Vancouver, and we always appreciated it. And it was always all sorts of information from John and great stories. And again, we really appreciated it. Host of the Gibby Show podcast now. He has a book out, Gibby, Tales of a Baseball Lifer, two-time manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, drafted by the Mets as a catcher back in the day. And John Gibbons joins us now. Thanks so much for doing this, sir. How are you?
What's up, boys? Good, man.
Yeah,
hey,
good.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Good to see. Is that the same chair that you had in the locker room back in the day with the Blue Jays?
It could be, man. I just started leaning so much, I turned them all into recliners. You know?
I hear you. Hey, reading the press release for your book, Gibby, Tales of a Baseball Lifer. I hope I have this right. You got your first taste of competitive baseball in Newfoundland. Is that right? And how did that come about?
If you want to call it competitive, you know, my father was in the U.S. Air Force, and he got stationed up in Goose Bay, Labrador. You know, and so I was of age. You know, they had a league, a little league team, a base team, and so he took me to tryouts one day. I was scared to death, man. I wouldn't get out of the car, and so finally he said, "The heck with this, man. We're going home." And then luckily, a guy he worked with on base was a coach of one of the teams, so he put me on the team. So that's how it all started at Goose Bay, Labrador, man. Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah, no kidding. What was the process of writing a book like there? Must have been a lot of stories to tell, John.
Yeah, I think so. You know, I wanted to make a fun book. You know, the people could look, because I've read some sports books, and it could be kind of dull. And so I hope they like it. But you know, it all started my last day in Toronto in 2018. You know, I knew I was gone. We had announced it and everything. And 2 or 3 of the writers asked me, said, "If you ever write a book, I want to write it." I'm going, "Really? Come on." I mean, I kind of laughed it off because I didn't think, you know, I probably wouldn't read it myself, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, you know, a couple of years go by, and a buddy of mine kind of helped facilitate some things. And hey, you didn't think you'd hear the word facilitate out of me, did you?
No, not on this show, that's for sure.
I don't know if it made sense, but anyway. So here I got a book right here, and I hope people enjoy it. But it was kind of fun. You know, it was fun looking back over your life a little bit, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. Rick's looking up the meaning of facilitate as we speak. Why is it, John, do you think you connect so well with the Canadian people?
Well, you know what? I think I'm a lot like Canadians. Like, you know, Canadians are hardworking, honest, no bullshit, like their beer, and they're straight shooters, you know. And I think, especially you guys are out west, aren't you? You guys are cowboys out there, aren't you? You know,
we like to think so. Yeah,
like to think so, exactly. You know, so I mean, things just kind of click. You know, it wasn't like that the whole time. My first go around, I don't think I was well liked, and I didn't take advantage of and try to learn anything about Canada and enjoy being there. And the second go around, I just changed my attitude, and naturally the team was better, and that never hurt.
Yeah.
But I just kind of, you know, I think they're a lot like Texans, you guys up there, and that's a compliment, I think. And hopefully it's not an insult.
No.
Hey, John, obviously the Jose Bautista bat flip's going to be a big part. But you know what? You also got a tremendous amount of respect for him. You called him one of the most motivated players you have ever been around when you talked about Jose Bautista.
Yeah, you know, Jose was different. You know, he it took a while to get going. I mean, he struggled early in his career and never really got an opportunity is probably what happened. Right. He was considered a journeyman. And finally, he got his break in Toronto, and they threw him out there to play every day. And then Cito Gaston did a great job with his hitting. And, then he just took off, but he understood. I think he played with that chip on his shoulder, but he understood that, what? My career is going to be short-lived. I'm going to maximize it. I'm going to get everything out of it I can. And you know what? He also understood that's very important. I don't think everybody does that plays the game is people pay a lot of money to come see him play, And he wanted to make sure he's out there playing for him. And plus, man, he liked that dollar bill, so he was going to make sure he's out and get every at bat he could.
40-plus seasons in pro baseball. I heard you in an interview recently said you still want to manage someday. Is it just the love for the game that just keeps you holding on, John?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. That I tell everybody that crack. I don't know if it's even open anymore, but there might be just a shade of light coming through there. But that's my goal. I think I'm getting older, but I don't think I'm finished yet. And, I think I'm pretty good at it, But I know this. If, a lot of people gave me opportunities, that better baseball people never got. So I've got zero complaints. And if it never happens again, so be it. I can look back and with some fond memories and feel good about things. But, yeah, I think that desire, you look at Dusty Baker. Heck, Dusty's like 77 or something. I thought, hey, Dusty, man, you win it all. Why don't you go out on top, But they pay him too good down there, I guess.
Yeah. Pitch clock, banning the shift, larger bags. John, what do you think of baseball's rule changes?
I don't like it. I'm a fan of faster games, but I don't think that's how you control it necessarily. And I've always said, hey, if you don't like the game, go home early or turn the TV off. Come back. Really, baseball's kind of a slow game. People like the slugfest, 10-9 games or whatever it is, because there's action, right? But those games go 4 hours. But it's all, baseball can be just slow. That's as far as I've never liked the shift. It just didn't seem right to me. So I'm glad that's gone back to normal. The pitch clock, they'll make adjustments. It'll work, I hope. But I think there may be some problems, especially early on, late in games, the late innings, because your top relievers, and when the game on the line, they tend to take a little more time. That's just kind of the way it's like if you guys saw the Mike Trout Ohtani at bat the other night. Yep. Yeah, in between every pitch was like 30 seconds. You couldn't have that at bat, right, in a regular season game now. So I think they'll need to adjust some of that because that's when the drama develops late in the game. Why interfere with it, And as far as the bases and stuff, I read an article yesterday, Ricky Henderson, all-time base king. He could, there's a guy, the perfect guy on, you shorten the base paths and you bigger bases. He says, heck, you gotta add 50 more stolen bases a year to his career record than if you can do that. He didn't like it either. It's like we do all the wrong things. We try to manipulate things to create more, excitement. I don't know, but baseball is not always an exciting game,
Yeah, well, it's certainly different than everything else out there, hockey and basketball and football. You were part of the Mets organization, and a long time ago, I read the book when the bad guys won. The bad guys won. Talking about the '86 Mets. You were part of that organization back then as a player. Was that group as nasty and notorious as their reputation would lead you to believe? Dykstra and Strawberry and Gooden. Gary Carter was in there as well.
Hey, well, Gary didn't fit into that crowd.
No, he didn't. I shouldn't have put his name in there. Yeah.
Gary kept him afloat, with some sanity. But, that and it's maybe even worse, But I will tell you this. These guys would fight each other. They didn't all get along. And everybody says, well, good teams are unique, good chemistry. Everybody's got to get along. No, that's not the case, but they got to play together. They got to win. They got a desire to win together. But that team would show up every day. I talked about Batista. He'd have been a perfect guy on that team, right? Could be a bad guy, but you know what? He plays to win, and that's what they did. And they go out and fight you and stick together, and then the game was over, and they go their separate ways and what have you. But yeah, there were some crazy times. I was kind of a fly on the wall, because I was up and down, but there's no exaggeration there. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a great read. Manoah, one more, John, if you don't mind. Manoah, Gossman, Bichette, Guerrero Jr. How can the Jays, and they lost that wild card series to Seattle last year, how can they go from being good to great?
You know what? I think it's almost a natural progression. If guys stay healthy. They lost Stripling, but added Bassett. He's gonna help them. I think the key guys, Barrios, he's got to bounce back. He's got to be better, right? Kikuchi sounds like he's ironed some things out in spring training. So they need all their starters to perform. The guys up top, Manoah and those guys, you don't need to worry about them. And just keep the big guys on the field doing their thing. Springer's prone to injuries. You need to keep him healthy. But they really got a good, solid team, and they made some good additions to balance out their lineup. And it just naturally, with the experience, I think in the extra wild cards and stuff. I mean, there's no way they're not going to get in. But I think the experience of last year, as crazy as that was at the end, will benefit them. And they got a shot to win it all. There's no question in my mind.
John, we started this interview talking about our time in Seattle, and you were always so accommodating with us. This reminds me a lot of this. It's the Gibby Show podcast, Gibby Tales of a Baseball Lifer with Greg Oliver. That's your book. We sure appreciate everything you've done for us today. All the best.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. But, hey, remember those days out in Seattle? That was incredible. The way it was. I mean, you can't describe it. That doesn't happen anywhere else. So, but thank you, guys. I appreciate your time.
You bet. Thanks, John. All the best with everything.
Thank you.
Again, the podcast, John, you bet. The podcast, the Gibby Show podcast, the book, Gibby Tales of a Baseball Lifer. I know I've said it on the show before. I'll say it again. Going down to see the Jays play, whether you like the Jays or not, it's something else. It's Canadiana. Going down to see them play in Seattle is something else. They take over not just the stadium, and Ryan knows this, but the whole city.
The whole city.
Jays fans. Yeah.
Are we doing the contest right now?
Yep, let's do it.
Okay, so guess what? We're giving away a trip for two to Seattle in July to catch the Mariners and the Jays, a doubleheader. You and a guest will fly from Victoria or Vancouver to Seattle on July 21st. You're going to catch the games on the 21st and 22nd. Premium seats at T-Mobile Park. You're going to stay at the Hyatt Downtown Seattle Hotel. A view of the Space Needle. Hop back on a plane home on July 23rd. To top it off, you get $200 cash as well. Okay, today's code word, plate. Plate. Head to checknews.ca/contest to submit today's word along with your info. We are going to have a brand new word each day, and the winner to be announced on April 6th.
I'm looking at the graphic here, and I noticed that the logos have been taken off of our hats.
Yeah.
Have the hats been changed as well? Because the one that I'm wearing in this picture, I look like I'm an equestrian rider.
It's like a top. It's like a top hat almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Both hats
Mine's
are just
crooked.
kind of resting.
We ran into legal issues.
Yeah,
So
legal issues.
That's okay.
Yeah.
The logos go by the wayside.
It's a heck of a prize.